Should you have to work 40 hours a week? Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Future in 5. My name is Jacob Morgan. This is where I share my thoughts, ideas, and commentary on the future of work in 5 minutes or less, joined by Athena and our new little dog Blinny hanging out in the background. And I'm here in Alameda, California, where I recently moved and took the dogs out for some playtime in a park here. Pretty abandoned, nothing really here, just me and grass. And I was sitting here just kind of relaxing, listening to the birds chirping, watching the dogs run around. And I was just thinking, I wouldn't trade this for anything. I'm very grateful and fortunate, but I also worked very, very hard to be able to work for myself. And it got me thinking about this whole 40-hour a week business that we are so fixated on. And if that's something that really we need or where that came from. I used to do telemarketing years ago, many, many years ago. And in telemarketing, there would be a supervisor that would sit in the middle of the room, and there would be people sitting in like these little cubes all around him. And regardless of how many calls you make, regardless of how many surveys you get people to complete on the other end, you still have to work the same amount of hours. And today we're seeing a shift a little bit, I think, from focusing on the inputs that are required to focusing on the outputs that are actually created from the time that you put in. And so I think this notion of having to work 40 hours a week is archaic, it's old, it doesn't make any sense. It's all about that idea of you're only working if I see you working. If I don't see you working, you're not working. And I always find it funny because if you were to ask a manager, and managers love this because they like to see the employees that are working, but if an employee were to ever ask a manager and say, after this meeting, when you go back to your desk, how do I know you're working? You're the manager, you say you're working, but if I don't see you doing it, how do I really know? And so I think in general, we are all sort of at a point where we realize that having to work 40 hours, having to come into an office doesn't really make sense anymore. Instead, we should focus on the outputs that we create instead of the inputs that go into it. Of course, I realize that for hourly workers, this isn't always as easy as it is for people that are on salary. But in general, I think this concept of having to work 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 32 hours a week is just crazy. For the world that we live in, that no longer makes any sense at all. Where we have technologies that allow you to work from anywhere, anytime, any location, why should you have to put in X number of hours? If you were to ask me how many hours I work a week, I have no freaking clue. I really have no idea how many hours I put in a week. I don't track it. And a lot of the organizations that I'm speaking with are starting to not track it either. They allow their employees to work whenever, wherever. They don't count hours. They say focus on what you get done, do good quality work, do it on time, communicate with us, collaborate with us. But we're not going to track you. We're not going to monitor you. We're not going to care about that stuff. We're going to focus on the outputs and less about the inputs. So should you have to work 40 hours a week? Absolutely not. I think that's absolutely crazy. I think it doesn't make any sense. I think organizations that are very fixated on that mentality, especially for salaried workers, are really going to have to change because it's a direction that employees and managers and pretty much everybody are starting to realize is a very archaic way of thinking about work. If you didn't have access to a computer or the web and you were in a manufacturing facility or an assembly line and you had to put in the time, okay, I get it. Maybe it makes a little more sense there. But in the knowledge economy, in the world that we're living today, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't apply. I'd be curious to hear what you think. Do you need to work 40 hours a week? And as a side topic for a future video, we'll talk about why some people work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So if you want to comment on that, feel free to do so below. If you want to get access to more of these videos, you can visit thefutureorganization.com. Or if you're interested in sponsoring a series of content, you can email me, jacob@thefutureorganization.com. And if you want to get access to the newsletter, you can do so. Blinny, how do people get access to the newsletter? She says, text the word future to the number 44222. Again, text the word future to the number 44222. That'll get you access to the newsletter. That's it for me from Alameda, California. Blinny and Athena say hi to all of you that are regularly watching. They frequently make cameo appearances in many of my videos. I will see you next time on an episode of The Future in 5. In the meantime, let me know. Do you have to work 40 hours a week? Are you seeing any changes happening about that? What is your personal viewpoint and perspective on the 40-hour work week? Let me know. Hey, are you interested in the future of work? If so, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get all the latest content on the future of work and stay up to date on all the latest trends and happenings. Not to mention, you will make me very, very happy. Make sure to subscribe.